It is just hilarious to see these so-called educated college students walking around with Che Guevara t-shirts on. These limousine lefties who are all about the LGBTQ2 Ziggy Y group, they don't seem to realize that Che Guevara hated homosexuals. I mean, he hated them. He executed them. He put them in prison. He called them sexual perverts. This is on the same level as like gays for Palestine. You notice none of them actually go to Palestine because they know they would be stoned to death or hung by a crane. Ernesto Che Guevara, like most limousine socialists, was born to a wealthy family in Argentina. He had Irish, Basque, and Spanish ancestry. He particularly loved to talk about Ireland because of his Irish ancestry, plus, he had an admiration for the murderers of the IRA. His father stated he had the blood of the Irish rebels in him. I don't know about that, but I know he had a lot of blood on his hands. He grew up in a left leaning home. He seemed to be very good at sports despite his asthma. He was also quite the chess player. He was an avid reader, and of course, he liked all the lefty socialist works that were coming in from Europe. But he was also very well read on other subjects. His personal interests were diverse, from mathematics to archaeology and pretty much everything in between. The guy was probably pretty interesting. Too bad he was a murdering thug. He made several trips throughout Latin America. Che himself was pretty racist. He was very European thinking in his orientation. He called the people of Mexico uh, illiterate Indians, disparaging both Mexicans and Indians. I wonder how the left feels about that as they're wearing their t shirt. He also made some weird statements like blacks have maintained their racial purity, and I quote, because of their lack of affinity towards bathing. Go ahead and put that quote on the back of your Che t shirt. He was pretty instrumental in helping another butchering murderer, Fidel Castro, to go ahead and lead the revolution in Cuba. The revolution managed to kill an untold amount of people, maybe up to 20,000. Nobody really knows for sure. No one will ever know. But the two murdering thugs probably worked well together. And unlike other murdering thugs, I'll give him credit, he actually butchered people himself. He quite enjoyed killing, it is said, and he would often kill people himself instead of having one of his guards do it or one of his men do it. It's kind of interesting how you can do that when you're allegedly a doctor. But I guess Joseph Mengele from the Nazi concentration camp was a doctor as well, wasn't he? Oh, and I know all the lefties out there is going to say, oh, yes, but look at what they did. Free education, free medical care. The only reason they were able to pull any of that off was because the aid they got from the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union flooded that island with aid just to kind of poke us. Not to mention, you could steal everybody's money, but pretty soon all that money you stole runs out, doesn't it? As soon as the Soviet Union fell, that island economically collapsed. Che was all about creating some sort of new man. I wonder why everybody always wants to create a new man. Like somehow you're going to change the instinct of mankind. There's a bunch of great people that try to do things like change to make a new man, such as Pol Pot, for instance. The creation of the new man always ends in a bloodbath. He was also just a great human being personally as well. He had a couple wives. He cheated on them both. And then he cheated on a woman who he cheated on his wife with, and then cheated on those women from those women he cheated on. The man had zero moral codes in him. This is a lovely one here. He was pissed at the Cuban Missile Crisis because he wanted he wanted nuclear missiles on Cuba because he said we would use them. You're excited about launching a nuclear weapon? What a piece of scum. He went to Bolivia to try, well, he went to Africa first to try some revolutions. They laughed him out of the continent. Then he went down to Bolivia to help the peasants with a revolution in Bolivia. The peasants wanted nothing to do with him. The problem was he was too arrogant to work with other people. He was Castro's little errand boy. He was not a leader. And what a great man of the people. What a great man of the people. He said talking to the peasants in Bolivia was like talking to a statue. When he was finally captured in Bolivia, he virtually begged for his life, stating, "Oh, don't shoot me. I'm worth more alive than dead." Well, the Bolivians finally executed him at the dismay of the United States and another Bolivian military officer. There were several versions of what that officer said, the Bolivian officer said, but it's something like this: "Now he lives forever." And what a mouthful that was. If that murdering pig would have just died of old age, you'd have never even heard his name outside of Cuba. If you like these videos, please hit the like button and subscribe. Thanks for listening.